you are like the sum or the average of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. And Tony Robbins, who I used to love to listen to over the years, he has a phrase that he says, which is proximity is power.
If you put yourself in the room with people who are doing what you aspire to do, you're going to learn from them and you can help them and they can help you. So I absolutely think that's the case no matter where you went to school or if you went to school.
I'm a big believer in that phrase that, you are like the sum or the average of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. And Tony Robbins, who I used to love to listen to over the years, he has a phrase that he says, which is proximity is power, right? Which is being around, people that are more successful than you or further along than you. Basically, they rub off on you. And so what impact did going to a school like Harvard, where you're around brilliant minds, people who are, I would imagine, quite disciplined outside of just being really smart, what impact do you think that's had on you over the years?
It's a great question. I think a lot of impact. I mean, I have to say, when you're 17, 18, you don't really know the opportunity you're being given. I think you walk through the door, and for me, it ended up being really great. But it was not just what I learned, but the people that I met and those relationships have been fantastic for me throughout the rest of my life. I think back to when I was early on with Taste Buds Kitchen in New York City. We were featured as the best of New York, which for those who know New York City, there's a magazine, New York Mag, and they feature a best of once a year. And if you're in that, you're it, right? Because everyone is reading this all across the city. And we were it in 2010. And we were it because I had a friend. I didn't even know she did this. She freelanced for New York Magazine. And she's like, I'm throwing your name in the mix. Like, this is amazing, right? And so they picked us and we did it. And it was because she knew Taste Buds, right? So we obviously were a great brand, but it was my friend from college. And so I think that those relationships have really helped as I've gone on, and people are pushers and drivers. And I like to be a pusher and a driver and a go-getter and a scrappy. And I think being around that environment and a lot of my friends going on to do amazing things. And, when we have girls' weekends or whatever, this is the stuff we're talking about, right? What are you doing? How's it going? What are your challenges? My college roommate is very high up and has run kind of HR at big organizations. And every time she comes to visit, we're always talking about that. So I think that's, a fun community that it has given me to be a part of. That answers your question.
Yeah, it's amazing. And some people listening may go, well, I didn't go to Harvard. I don't know all these, crazy, successful and smart people. And, I guess just to overcome that objection for a second there, I would say, well, I went to community college for 2 semesters, dropped out after that. Both of my sisters went to great schools. One of my sisters went to William and Mary. The other one went to Northwestern. So I was the oddball, who dropped out of college. And not to say that like I've done anything, great, but I know one of the things I've always done is just paid to be in the room or around people. So going to seminars, going to events. I just spent let's call it invested. I just invested $5,000 to go to a 1-day event, but with just some super successful business people. And so not that someone has to go out and spend $5,000, but I think there's opportunity where when you intentionally put yourself around other people who are winning, I think it rubs off, overall.
Yeah, absolutely. Because there's just as many people, I think it's give, give, get, right? So I'm always trying to give and help people. And I find that my community is that very much the same. And it's not just my Harvard community. I've been out of college 20 plus years at this point, right? But in New York, small business community, where I started in New York City, I was in the business groups, right? I knew all the people that owned like-minded businesses, whether it was the craft studio, right? Or something where there was a young entrepreneur doing something different or a more mature one. And we've always, helped each other over the years. And I'm a believer too. If you put yourself in the room with people who are doing what you aspire to do, you're going to learn from them and you can help them and they can help you. So I absolutely think that's the case no matter where you went to school or if you went to school.
If you enjoyed this short clip from the podcast, you can check out another short clip right here. Or if you want to watch the full episode of this podcast, you can watch that here. And remember, knowledge is not power. It's applied knowledge that's power. Take care. Have a great rest of your day.